What's up, guys? Welcome back to the review and discussion for UnOrdinary episode 296. So this episode is disappointing, but it's disappointing for about it's disappointing for about a second, but then the episode kind of picks up in the way that it is going. Now, why is this episode disappointing? Well, it's disappointing because we're not getting a fight this episode. We don't get a fight in this episode, unfortunately, but it's fine. Now, of course, when Cassandra said that she was going to test Arlo, I think we all assumed that she was going to fight him and we were going to get some really cool action and everything. But actually, no, there is no fight. There is just testing his capabilities for in the field practices and everything. And honestly, it's a pretty cool concept. Actually, it's supposed to be a test, not a fight, like at Wellston or anything. It's not like a turf war or anything. So it makes sense that it's just, hey, like let's run some tests for like real world scenarios, like on the job scenarios and everything, so I can see how good you'll actually be. So, last week we clearly ended off with Cassandra activating her ability, and it's just a lot of like red glowing dots surrounding her. And Arlo is even a little perplexed when he first sees it, saying he's never seen anything like it. And yeah, we haven't seen anything like this ability in the story so far. But I think we've seen something like Cassandra's ability before, just not in the way that it looks. More on that later on. So, yeah, like I said, we're not getting a fight. It's just Cassandra testing Arlo's capabilities. So we also get nothing too concrete from Cassandra's ability this episode. But it's all good. So, the first thing she tests is Arlo's durability. And of course, as we all know, Arlo is the defense king of Wellston. So she gives him the first attack and he just slaps it away, just goes out of my way. So his passive invulnerability, his passive defense of 6.5 as confirmed by Uru, honestly pretty cool. Like it's been a while since we've seen Arlo, just brush shit off, just like out of my way. Anyway, he then asks for her strongest attack, and she's just like, I wanted to give you a chance to warm up, but fine, sure, no problem. So, she does. She activates her ability, kind of like raises her hand like this, shapes a giant hand with all the little red dots, and like slams down on Arlo's barrier. And it does seem like he does reinforce it. He clearly like reinforces it a lot more and everything. But one thing I noticed, there's no crack. There's no damage to the barrier at all. But Arlo does mention that she does damage the floor quite severely. And Arlo also does realize she's pretty strong. Now, I'm not sure if she was holding back. She probably was holding back. But again, she did say, she wouldn't hold back. And I think it's a little interesting that there was no damage done to the barrier. Now, if she had done the way she was going to do, where 5 consecutive attacks, each one getting stronger, maybe there would have been more damage to his barrier. Or maybe, for the first 3, we'll say, Arlo's passive could have just taken care of it and just boom, boom, boom. So who knows if he would have needed to use his, if there would have been damage done to the barrier. But with her strongest attack, as we saw, there was no damage. So I am starting to wonder if she's not stronger than Arlo, if Arlo is a higher level than her. We'll have to wait and see. So the test after that is the ability to carry another person and protect them, referencing to herself if she were to go down in the field through an obstacle course with a training dummy. And of course, she also attacks him during the trial, but he puts a barrier around himself as he walks through everything and goes through everything. Honestly, kind of cool. Kind of cool to see that Arlo can do that with his ability. can keep his ability mobile. Makes sense that he can do it too. He can decide when and what he can decide what's tangible and not with his ability. He can decide what can pass through. And so like when he's like going through things, clearly they're not affecting the barrier, but Cassandra's attacks are not going through. And Arlo is also able to carry with his shoulder, with his just like over the shoulder, he's able to carry a 250-pound wet noodle. And that's honestly really impressive. That's really freaking impressive. Arlo's not weak. We've known that. We've always known that. Arlo's not weak. So, yeah, there's that. She gets him through and she even says like, oh, hey, not bad for someone who's not very mobile. So for the final test, she challenges his ability to apprehend people with 3 groups of targets. Now, I mentioned I'll say this after this. Arlo shows us, for what I'm fairly certain is the first time we've seen him do, he can summon multiple barriers, and he passes the test with that. But he also mentions to Cassandra, he doesn't practice it often, since he summoned more, they're less durable. So, it's really cool that this is something Arlo can do. It's definitely something that he should have been capable of for a long time, and Uru does also throw in the caveat that he doesn't practice it often, so that's why it hasn't been shown before. So honestly, I'm cool with that decision. Now, she's testing him for his field work, and so I mentioned in the reaction, I wonder if Uru showed us him using 3 barriers, so he can use 3 barriers against the trio. He used 3 separate barriers to target 3 separate groups, so I am wondering, is this kind of foreshadowing for him having to work with Cassandra in apprehending the trio? Who knows? So, after that, Cassandra tells him that he's passed, and then she also offers to take him out to dinner since it's getting so late. And they go to Uru's Burritos. I fucking love that. It's a little food truck. It's got some kind of mascot on it. I couldn't really see too clearly what it is, but it's like, what does it look like? It's like, it looks like a little head in like an armor suit or something. Yeah, it looks like someone with like some kind of like Gundam helmet or something, just kind of going like, Anyway, so I just thought that was funny. So, also seems to be Arlo's first time having a burrito, like how he hadn't tried boba before, so that's kind of cool. And then Arlo asks him about his friends, and again, friends is kind of a loose term, like, yeah, Remy and Arlo are friends, but John, Sarah, Blake, and Ison, probably not. Caring about people doesn't automatically make you friends. Anyway, she asks if he sees them much now that he's working, or if he misses them. And Arlo leaves his actual friend out to dry. He doesn't mention Holden at all, but he does say that he'd rather be at the bureau. And then Cassandra immediately just kind of retorts with like asking why he's been looking them up in the system. Arlo clearly gets on alert for a moment. He's just kind of like, oh shit, fuck. But Cassandra says that she understands that it's fun to look up the people that they know, but still not to let information leak out. And it was at this point in the episode I did start to question maybe Cassandra won't be a villain after all. I talked about it very thoroughly in the reaction. Maybe she's being set up to think. Like most characters, maybe she's just trying to do what she thinks and has clearly been told her entire life what's right. And I was thinking maybe she's just getting set up as Arlo's ally, since Serafina has Layla. Serafina and John have Layla. John might be getting Cameron, I mentioned that. And the trio has Kuyo at the moment. So maybe Cassandra is going to end up being Arlo's person, basically, within the authorities. Honestly, I wouldn't mind. Arlo clearly lost a mentor in Ray. And actually, it'd be pretty cool that his next mentor was the number one at Wellston before Ray. That'd be a really cool detail, actually. Uru, send me my check. Anyway, so Cassandra, she's most likely, I'm willing to say she's most likely not gonna be a permanent villain. Maybe there will be a point, soon, where she'll be like, Arlo, I can't believe you've done this, and they'll fight and everything. But once Cassandra realizes all the shit that's going down, hopefully she'll be like, oh shit, I was wrong, my bad, let me help you guys. Maybe. So Cassandra might be a momentary villain, but then just kind of oh wait, my bad, homie, let me make things right, let me help you guys out. So Arlo then asks her about Vaughn and why he's being targeted by the authorities and everyone. And Cassandra explains that she thinks Vaughn is an imposter. And she tells him what Wellston was like when she attended, saying that under the old headmistress, she doesn't look too familiar. I don't think we've seen her before, other than her being mentioned in Ray's backstory, and maybe a few other times, but I'm pretty sure she was only ever mentioned in Ray's backstory. That students were able to focus on academics and self-improvement instead of running the school like they do now. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like I mentioned in the reaction as well. In Ray's side story, Kuyo clearly has people. Kuyo and his people, they're clearly not focusing. They're probably focusing on study. That's not fair. But they are targeting weaker students for very minimal things. Kuyo's cronies and everyone are beating up younger students just for kind of talking bad about him, because let's be real, if someone who's supposed to be in charge of the school, or the number one in the school, is having his friends beat you up because you said I don't like him, that's not okay. And also Kuyo even meets Cassandra since he was the strongest first year. So were royals not running the school, or was it just a title? It's a bit confusing, honestly. Kind of wish there was a little more details there, but I don't know. Maybe being the top students, maybe being the royals was just a title for top students. Maybe Ray kind of made it a thing of hey, royals, let's kind of work on the school a little bit. Let's kind of be better people. Honestly, if I recall, that's kind of what it was like in New Boston. Zirian didn't really care about running the school. He just didn't want John to have the title of royal. So, yeah, maybe being royal was just a title before. Like I said, it is a little bit confusing though. So, nonetheless, Cassandra then points out that after Vaughn took over, after she graduated, the school started to become increasingly disorderly gradually. And it wasn't until a dear friend and junior of hers, presumably Ray, I would think, died, that she discovered what Wellston's current state was like. Now, here's the thing. Let's say Vaughn chose Ray to take Kuyo's place as king, since, he probably saw Ray had a good heart and Ray was a little shit. So, yeah, like I brought up in the reaction, maybe Vaughn did have some influence over Ray. But again, Vaughn has shown to be against vigilantism, and again, UnOrdinary came out after Ray's graduation, and that's what made Ray become a hero. And the current students who are getting into a bunch of shit are getting into it without Vaughn knowing. So yeah, I still can't totally follow her logic. I still really can't. But, okay. Something's been set up. It definitely could still use some work. It has been set up, though. But I will say, it doesn't look like I said, it doesn't look like Cassandra's being set up as a permanent villain or a villain. More like a temporary one, but also she's most likely going to end up becoming an ally, actually. Now, one thing I also brought up in the reaction that I want to talk about here real quick. Does Cassandra know Remy? I mean, Kuyo clearly went to Remy's funeral. So did Cassandra go as well? Does Remy know Cassandra? I mean, if Ray, I am assuming that Ray is the person she was talking about. If Ray was really a dear friend, I think there's no reason that she wouldn't have met his family before, since Kuyo clearly was attached to Remy and everything. So, yeah. Yeah. Just food for thought. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, the whole thing with Vaughn is weird, but like, I don't know. Cassandra could still use a little work, if I'm being honest. She's definitely better. Like, you know, we did get a little bit of her side of things. Her side of things kind of don't make sense, if I'm being honest, but whatever. Arlo then gets back to his apartment, and he's clearly still tired from the day. As he reflects on everything, he's clearly drained. Then he gets a call from that bitch, Valerie, that bitch. Anyway, and he's kind of wondering why she's calling so late, and the episode ends. Unfortunately, we get nothing on Cassandra's ability. But real quick about Valerie before we talk about Cassandra's ability. Real quick about Valerie before we tackle Cassandra's ability. Is she going to be able to influence Arlo again? We've clearly seen from their conversations before in the past, Varlo clearly has a lot of things on his mind, and Valerie is always just like, pay no attention to it. Like, you know, focus on yourself, focus on your academics, focus on your future and everything, Arlo. And he kind of takes that in stride and kind of like listen to her like, yeah, you're right, I should. So, or will he just be like, hey, did you kill my mentor? Did you kill Ray? Highly doubt that's going to happen, honestly, but it'd be fucking crazy if he did. So, she clearly does have a grip on Arlo, so she may be able to get under him again and tell him to just ignore the others, like not to focus on them and just focus on work. And that may actually break him, considering how tired he is of everything. He could listen to her, and he could just like, you know, be like, you know what? Yeah, like I am going to stop worrying about them. I'll just focus on work and school. And maybe that'll get rid of the bags under his eyes. Who knows what she's going to tell him tomorrow? We're just going to have to, or tonight when you guys are watching this. We're going to have to wait and see. And honestly, I'm kind of scared about what she's going to say. So, Cassandra's ability before we end off. Uru clearly doesn't like sharing abilities. It's fine, Uru. It's fine. Whatever. But I was thinking Cassandra's ability, she was able to construct multiple very different things. She was able to construct a giant hand, and she was able to construct kind of like a dagger similar, or like blade vine similar to Cecile's, and also an arrow, which is what she shot at Arlo when he was going through the obstacle course with the dummy. Now I am thinking maybe her ability is constructs. That would be cool. I would like a Green Lantern. I would like an ability much like Green Lantern's, where it's just boom, she can make something. Or maybe it's conjure dots, and she can, you know, construct a lot of things with the dots. Or maybe she has energy constructs. The way her ability does look does very much remind me of Blake's ability, Energy Beam. So maybe she has energy constructs or something of that. She can form energy or little blots and shit of energy into different dots. Honestly, I'm excited to see what her ability is, because it definitely does look cool. I was unfortunately wrong about Flameclaw, so yeah. Anyway, that's it for the episode. I honestly don't know what her level could be. Maybe she was holding back against Arlo. Maybe she is weaker than Arlo. But we'll just have to wait and see. Actually, no. She definitely had to be holding back. 'Cause like, yeah. No way. No way she wasn't holding back now that I think about it. That's not important anymore. So, thank you all so much for watching, guys. And as always, see you, Space Cowboy.